So for step 7, the front gearbox. Well, now we're going to grab both halves of the gearbox that we built in the previous step, and we're just going to attach everything. Now, there are two things to make note of. There's this E2 piece, which is coming off the silver parts tree, and then there is this metal piece, aluminum, whatever it is, that has to go in there before closing it up too, but you have to note the screw position because of the way the hole is going to sit. Now it does show the thread lock again, which we're not going to bother with. So here are our screws and pieces. There's our two halves of the gearbox. So I'll set this up and let's put this together. So let's grab this side first, because it'll be easier to see. So you can see that this piece here, and you don't want it going on that way, it needs to face up. So that's going to end up sitting there, just like that. And then we have this piece here, which you can see in terms of the screw hole position, it needs to be facing up like that, so that it's facing down as well, which I think is because there's room for the screw. But let's see how that's going to sit. So it needs to be facing up like that. So then what we're going to do is we're going to grab the other side of the gearbox. Now, because there's all these bits and pieces here, I've got to be careful how this is all going to fit, because you can see that this black piece right here with the pin, it's got to go in the front. Now that's all fallen off, which I kind of expected, but let's just make sure that it is sitting properly. So now that has to sit through there and through there and through there. And that's come off again. Well, you know what? The fact that that doesn't have to be in position when you lock the gearbox is probably good, because we can make sure, you can always make sure that it's seated in the right position before you put the screw through. But this one definitely has to be in before you do anything. Okay, so knowing that, let's put something in just so that we can have something to hold this with. So we know that that screw is going to go in there. So let's screw that in a little bit. We know that this screw is going to go on the end. So let's screw that in a bit. 1, 2. And we know that this screw has got to go in. And let's screw that one in a bit. And this other last screw has to go there at the bottom, and we're going to screw that one in. Now, because everything is feeling okay, I just want to make sure that that is going to get seated right. So if you see how that's going to be, that needs to be facing up so that on the underside it looks like that. And knowing that, let's get that screw in so that we don't have to worry about it anymore. So we'll slide that through, grab our flange nut, and we're going to spin that on. And let's just see if I can tighten it at all. Yes, I can. So ultimately that's what it's going to look like, so that the screw is facing down. So now that we know that everything is in okay, I am going to start tightening this up a bit more. And I also can see that we've got the one other screw that's got to go through, which sits right there, yes. And it looks like it's going to screw into something on the other side. Now, I don't remember there being anything on the other side, but it's definitely going in. It's not a tapping screw, but it is screwing into something on the other side. I'm not sure what, but it's okay. Let's get the rest of it in. And I'm just going around kind of back and forth, making sure that screws are going in correctly. There's that other one, so let's get that in there. Because you know how something can be tight and then you tighten something else up, you go back to it and it's loose. So I'm just kind of doing a crisscross pattern, making sure that everything is fine. Which it seems to be. And we had that pin, which I'm going to push back into there. So ultimately, this is what it's going to look like. So there is our finished front gearbox. And everything seems to be moving okay. There's the gear that's moving the bottom propeller shaft. Or I should say, this is the propeller shaft and it's moving the gear joint on the bottom. And my hands are slippy, so I think it's the same situation, but I can feel that it's moving okay. I don't know if you can see that, but if we were to grab our dog bones again from a future step and stick those in, I can hold one or even spin them backwards, so you know that the gearbox is working fine. Everything went together properly. But it is good to do this just so you can see that everything is correct. Okay, so that means step 7 is complete. Very, very cool. So now we can move on to step 8, which is the rear suspension, and now we're also into bag B.